that's not it. So apparently, I ran out of palette paper, which is a problem. However, I know what to use in place of it, but I gotta go get it. So, hang out and I'm gonna roll the intro. So, when I was first starting off, just like most artists, I was on a pretty tight budget, and I couldn't just run out and get supplies if I ran out. Now, luckily for me, I'm a pretty creative dude. And what do you get when you mix creativity with a really tight budget? Resourcefulness. So what we're going to talk about today are my 5 favorite items that you actually might have laying around your house that'll help you keep the budget low and the creativity super high. Let's go. Number 1, a spray bottle. Actually seems really silly, but if you use acrylics like I do, this is a super valuable tool. Now, a lot of times when painters are just starting off, especially in acrylic, there's a little bit of a learning curve when you're trying to blend and sort of manipulate the colors on the canvas. It definitely takes some practice. Now, a lot of seasoned painters, especially the ones that use acrylics, will often use an airbrush gun because the mist is really, really little. You don't want those big droplets of water. However, I don't know if you know this, but an airbrush gun, it's super expensive. And ain't nobody got time for that. So, what do we do in a bind, right? You can't go out and buy yourself an airbrush gun. That's unreasonable. But as you're learning, you want to sort of minimize that learning curve. I'll tell you what you do. Buy yourself a spray bottle. They're incredibly cheap. You go down to your local whatever store. Usually the one that I go to has a red circle, and there's another little red circle in the middle of it. You'll figure it out. Just Google it. But here's the trick. You want to make sure that you test it first, because you want very small droplets. You do not want big droplets. If you have big droplets, it's just going to run. You're going to get into some areas of that painting you don't want to get into. Trust me. Number 2. Seems silly, right? Duh. Paper towels. Of course. Who doesn't use paper towels? Agreed. However, there's a little trick that you can use to help make sure your brushes stay the way they're supposed to stay. And after you clean your brushes, especially with natural ones, what you want to do is you want to wrap them tight to keep the form of the brush. This is very, very important. And the reason I say it's very important is because if you've ever had to go buy a new brush because you left it out with paint on it, or you forgot to wrap it the way it should have been wrapped, and then it's frayed and it's ugly, and your handsome little brush, it's not handsome anymore. I just got really sad. That was weird. Anyway, trust me, you don't want to get into a situation where you have to go buy a brush because you used it a couple times and now it's all frayed and weird. We don't want to do that. So, to keep your brushes nice and formed, wrap them after you clean them. You can actually take that one step further, grab a blow dryer, and blow dry them if you need to get back to painting right away. Because if you're like me, you're doing it, you want to get that painting done. Because, remember, painting's fun. We want to keep doing it. Do it. Especially if you're starting off. Practice. Practice. Number 3. Just use wax paper. It's so much cheaper. Because if you're anything like me, you actually don't own a palette because you don't like them. Because I'm lazy and I don't want to clean it. All I want to do is wrap it up, throw it in the garbage. I got enough to deal with cleaning the brushes. I don't want to have to scrape a palette. But palette paper is very, very expensive. A lot more expensive than going down to your local dollar store and picking up a little box of wax paper. It's super convenient. All you really have to do, open it up, lay it on the table, tape it down, put some paint on it. Done and done. Number 4, and this one by far has to be my favorite household item to use. It's so convenient. And a lot of people actually don't know about it, and I wish this existed when I was growing up. When I started painting, it was so difficult. But get yourself a magic erase pad. Believe it or not, these handy little tools can do some things that you wouldn't think they would be able to do. Now let's say you're painting and you get a little streak of paint on that canvas that you didn't want there. It's in a place nobody really wants it. It's ugly, it was an accident. Oops. Well, you can either paint over it with some titanium white. Actually, this is very, very important. Never, under any circumstances, use blackout white to cover up a mistake. It does not do what you think it does. The name is very misleading. Just don't do it. Titanium white will cover up a mistake. You might need 2 coats, but it's very simple to paint right over it. However, that's going to take some time. And if you're like me, you want to paint really fast. You don't have time. So, while the paint is still wet, if you take this magic erase pad, you can take all of that paint that you just put on there right off. No muss, no fuss, done and done. All right, so that brings us to our 5th and final thing that I love to use from around the house. This one comes with a bit of a caveat, because technically, it's not really a household item, but it has saved my life on more than one occasion. Now, if you're anything like me, you're buying your paints in bulk because it's cost effective and much more efficient. It just makes sense. And if you're not doing it and you're a beginning painter, do it. I know it costs a lot up front. I mean, it's pretty tough to take that hit right off the bat, but trust me, in the long run, it makes a lot more sense. And all you really need are your primary colors. All right, now let's get serious here for a second. You only need the essentials. There is absolutely no reason you should have 5 different types of brown. It's just unnecessary. Now, am I saying that from experience? Maybe. Back to what I was saying. Now, my 5th and final thing that I think every artist should own, and I really genuinely mean this. This is one of those things that I think is a staple among your studio. A squeeze bottle. Seems very, very silly, but I think this is probably the most important thing. Now, if you're buying your paints in bulk, you know that trying to squeeze them out of that bottle is almost impossible to get the proper portions. And if you're trying to stay on a budget, portions matter. Am I right? But what happens a lot of times, if you are actually putting them into little tubes, those little tubes cost a lot of money. These guys right here, these are very, very inexpensive. And these guys are super easy to fill up. It doesn't make any sense not to do it. Actually, you know what? I can show you how convenient and easy it is. Ready? That's going to be it for today's video. Now, if you're new here and you enjoyed that video, why don't you hit that little like button? And I don't know, maybe subscribe. Why not? If you're already down there by the like button, move over a little bit to the right. Hit that red subscribe button. I'd like it. I'm cool with it. It's free, right? It's not hurting anybody. And what's the next video going to be, right? It's going to be uploaded every week. What's it going to be next week? You don't know. You're only going to find out if you subscribe. But, again, that's my time. Thanks for stopping by. It's been wonderful. Peace.